Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And we are now joined by our friend from Sacred Stasis, Isaï. Willemse, how are you?
I'm good, Jill. How are you?
It's a pleasure to have you here as a soul activator, medicine being, and so much more from Salt Lake City, Utah. Please help me in joining our friend Isaï to the show. How are you?
I'm so good, Jill. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. Would you mind introducing yourself to our listeners so they can get to know you?
Yeah, of course. So I've been on this podcast before, specifically with Casey. My name is Isaï Willemse. I'm a soul activator, sound alchemist, sound therapist, amongst other things. I work with one-on-one clients. I also do distance sessions doing divination, doing energy work. I do trauma release therapy. I'm a life coach. And I work at many different events, retreats, festivals, gatherings. And so I'm very multifaceted and do very, very many things.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. So you are new to me, but not new to the show. So a lot of people do know you. But of course, we always got to establish who we're speaking to. And it's exciting to have you here. Now, for the first time for myself, obviously, it's exciting to meet someone new and to have you be a part of our podcast here now with me. So just to point out your website to start off with, would you mind sharing so our listeners can reach out to you? And then we'll get started for today's show.
Yeah, no problem. So my website is sacredstasis.com, spelled SCARED. STASIS.com. On my website, you'll be able to find all my services, what I offer, how to contact me. And then you can also reach out to me via text or call. And that number is 801-410-0005.
Beautiful. So I know for today, we want to talk a little about soul fractaling, retrieval, activation. Could you talk a little bit about these? I'm not even sure, to be honest with you, what soul fractaling is.
Yeah, so soul fractaling is a term that references that all of us are multifaceted individuals and multidimensional individuals. So going into the theory of theoretical physics of the multiverse, that we're all existing as multiple different beings, all at the same time in different possible realities, right? This touches on multiple different things, such as past lives, which is ancestral DNA, somatic therapy. If we think of past life work or regression therapy, for example, a lot of people that go under hypnosis go into prenatal stages of birth. So before they were in their mother's belly, people have these memories that they are like, what? I was never born. How did this happen? And it creates a lot of questions, right? It creates a lot of interesting topics to discuss. So past lives, for me, what I've understood is we're a collection of our ancestors' DNA. So we have these memories from, say, for example, I'm dancing with a woman on a World War I ship after the war's over, but I've never lived in World War I before. Well, come to find out, one of my ancestors is a World War I veteran, right? So soul fractaling has to do with not only pieces of ourselves, but pieces of our ancestors that are within us. So touching on what soul retrieval is and how that ties into soul fractaling, there's a woman named Sandra Ingerman, and she came out with a book called Soul Retrieval, Mending the Fragmented Self. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. And in this book, she discusses the powerful healing collaboration of both psychology and shamanism. And in this book, it explains the effects of trauma that cause parts of the soul to fractal out, which she calls soul loss. In psychological terms, this would be known as disassociation. So I have my degree in psychology. I've worked with individuals with multiple different types of trauma. And someone can disassociate whenever they experience trauma. And when this happens, a part of their vital essence separates from them in order to survive the traumatic experience by escaping the full impact of the pain. We primarily see this with DID, or dissociative identity disorder, formerly known as multiple personality disorder, as a trauma that's occurred so intensely that the personality can't handle it, and then the soul fractals out as a survival response. And then fractaling really only occurs if someone doesn't have the proper tools to work with trauma, and most individuals don't, especially as children, and mostly in these phases of and stages of our upbringing. When we're children, that's when the most trauma happens. So during the soul retrieval process, a trained individual typically moves into an altered state of consciousness to travel outside the normal states of perception to retrieve lost parts of the individual's soul with the assistance of the individual as well. And that happens with regression work, different types of hypnosis, somatic therapy, moving the body to release trauma. So there's a lot of different ways to retrieve fractaled soul parts.
Well, thank you. You're really obviously filling me in on this, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners. I was not familiar with this term whatsoever. So now that I'm learning, I'm here, I'm on board, and I'm excited to learn more about this process. So by the way, you mentioned, and I'm sure some of our listeners already know, you have a degree in psychology. And just curious, you work with people all over the world or specifically in your state?
Yeah, so my work doesn't just it's not bound to individual face-to-face. I definitely do online work as well, so like distance sessions as well. So you don't have to be within my state or even within my neighborhood to get work from me done. You could be anywhere in the world.
Got it. Perfect. Just good to know. Thank you so much for sharing that. Wonderful. And how long of a process does this usually take? I mean, to do this with someone, and how many sessions would you do with them?
Yeah, so it depends on, because this work is kind of threaded throughout all the sessions that I do. It's kind of like asking a therapist, well, how long will it take for me to get over this, or for you to help me, right? It's so subjective to the individual's experience that it's not the same for everyone. For some people, it could take one session, depending on how open and vulnerable they are. For some people, it can take them a couple different sessions for them to come to me to have the tools necessary for them to integrate the experience. Because a lot of the work that I do has to do with integration work. So you come to me, we have the session, and then I send you home with some activities or some work to do, so that way you can integrate the experience. Because just like a therapist, the session, when you go into the session, it's beautiful, but it's what you do and how you integrate the experience when you go home into your daily life.
Got it. Okay, good to know. Thank you so much. Did you want to talk more about that, or move on to the soul retrieval process, which of course you're familiar with?
Yeah, so soul retrieval is extensively in regards to shamanism, because that's what soul retrieval, its terminology comes from. We see in the history of this medicine work that typically in the past, a shaman in and of itself does the work. The shaman's the one that goes into these states of being and into these altered states of consciousness. And that can come about through many different things. That can come around through breath work, which I work with. That can come around through dancing. A lot of cultures in the past use dance to enter into an altered state of consciousness. And sometimes it involves psychedelic medicine as well. That's becoming a huge thing in the therapeutic field right now, with psychedelic assisted psychotherapy and how that's helping individuals get over and work with their trauma. So in classic shamanism, the shaman is the one that goes out and does the work. But how I work with my clients is we both do it together. So it's not me doing the work, right? It can't be me doing the work because I'm not the one experiencing the trauma. So what happens is I go in with my client into these places, which is paralleled with shadow work, and see how far they can go and how comfortable they can go. And each session we go deeper and deeper and release and understand what parts of themselves have been locked away or what parts of themselves need more love. Because in our society, we push away darkness and we push away uncomfortability. But when we come into a place of recognizing it as a lesson, and the more we come into it as a place of recognizing it as an experience of learning and growth, at that point we can come into a place of expansion and healing.
Great. And just curious, now I've actually heard of the term soul retrieval, right? Now, this can work for anyone, correct? Whether you're near or far. And how far does it go back? You know, from what I know about a soul, I believe in souls. And, you know, I lost my mother 4 years ago to lung cancer. I believe the soul lives on, the soul is there, and the soul lasts forever. Everyone has their own beliefs, right? But how do you retrieve? Are we talking about retrieving our own soul from back then, or a past soul at this point when you talk about soul retrieval, like the beginning emergent point of my soul, or would it be someone else's, or can we do both?
Yeah, so soul fractaling, the way that Sandra Ingerman terms it specifically in her book is very different than how I term it, right? Soul fractal, like a soul fractal. I mean, they're very parallel in a way. But to answer your question more directly, when you soul retrieve, it's more something of yourself has dislodged. A part of yourself has been locked away. So people who use statements such as "I've never been the same" after a certain event, that statement is a direct link to a soul fractal, a traumatic event that has caused the soul to split or that has caused the soul to lock itself away. And in psychological terms, this is known as disassociation. So when someone disassociates or when someone has a dissociative episode, this is a direct example of what is happening when the soul fractals out.
Got it. Thank you so much for clarifying, because I'm familiar with the Akashic readings and that type of soul retrieval, so I was just a little confused. And again, being new to you here, I just want to make sure we're covering everything that's important to you, and I'm understanding it, and our listeners are. So let's continue. Thank you for letting me interrupt so kindly.
No, you are so good, Jill. I mean, this is a conversation between you and me. This isn't just me explaining what everything is. So please, if you have any questions, I'm more than willing to answer them for sure.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I speak for the general audience, the thousands that are listening here today as well. I'm sure they have questions as well. So this is great. Thank you so much for being so open and sharing this with me. So let's continue our path here on soul retrieval.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So statements that, again, that when people say, "I've never been the same," or "this really caused me to go within," when the personality is drastically impacted by a traumatic event, we go in with soul retrieval, right? So the work that I termed as soul activation is, you can consider this to be parallel with life coaching. Soul activation is extremely subjective to each individual client that I work with, as, again, their needs are all very different and what they desire. And through soul activation, one can remember and reclaim their divinity. And then the journey is limitless from that point on. Once someone remembers how powerful a manifester they are and how they both consciously and unconsciously create the reality, they will be able to do almost anything. So soul activation, as I call myself a soul activator, a lot of my work is based off of this soul retrieval work, is going in with the client through multiple different processes, through talk therapy, through somatic therapy, through the services that I offer that are all interwoven all together. We go in and we look at the parts of the client that are asking, where can I have more love? Is my life needing something more? Am I not in the best place in my life right now, with my marriage, with myself, with my children? And all of this changes in such a vast way that it's so individual for each individual person. So.
And then let me ask you at this time, would you mind taking a quick commercial break? And we're going to get your best form in all forms of contact so our listeners can reach out.
Of course. Thank you so much, Jill.
Thank you. So let's share your website, and you want to share a phone number, email address. What form of contact would you like to share?
Yeah, of course. So you can reach out to me for those who are listening. You can reach out to me on my website directly. It has all my contact information on there. It's sacredstasis.com, SCAREDSTASIS.com. Or you can reach out calling me, or even better yet, shooting me a text at 801-410-0005.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Isaï, for establishing our time here today. And what we're going to do is take that quick break. I promise it'll be a quick one, and we have a lot to talk about when you return. Stand by. I'll be right back with more after the break.
All across Greater Fort Lauderdale, millions of taste buds are cheering. Because right now you can dine at top restaurants and enjoy amazing 3-course meals starting at just $35.
So good. This is what I'm talking about. Pass the butter.
It's all part of Lauder Deals. Great deals at restaurants, spas, attractions, and of course, hotels.
Look at that beach view. Look at that minibar.
See all the Lauder Deals and plan your beach getaway at visitlauderdale.com/deals.
Hey, who ate all the key lime pie?
Seeking a more fulfilled life? Desiring to step into your power? Hello, my name is Isaï Willemse, creator and founder of Sacred Stasis. Soul activator, energy healer, and sound alchemist, I assist individuals in remembering and reclaiming their power, no matter who they are. Visit our website, sacredstasis.com, and fill out our form for a free consultation or give us a call. Let's take the steps to transform and heal your life together.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
As you may have just heard, Isaï is talking here from sacredstasis.com for energetic healing services, which include an array of crystal Reiki, aroma Reiki, sound Reiki, and so many other energy medicine and, of course, healing modalities. There's so much to her today, and today we're actually focusing for her on some of the soul retrieval is where we left off. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much, Jill. I really appreciate that. Yeah, so soul activation is the work that I do, right?
Yeah.
So I'd like to go into the basis and the foundations of the work that really gets to be done with my clients. And those are mindfulness, compassionate communication, and integration work. So what mindfulness is and how it can help improve someone's quality of life is so beautiful. I love talking about this. Mindfulness is using one's awareness to fully be immersed in what the present moment is. This can be synonymous with flow state. When someone's in a flow state, they lose concept of everything else around them, and they're so immersed in what they're doing and what is happening. And that can be anything from playing a sport to playing music to painting. Usually it's very associated with hobbies or artistic expressions, but it's also activities like meditation or breathing or reading. A lot of the work that I do, I help my clients come into a space of how can I be fully immersed in this moment? For example, I took a vow of silence for about a month last year. That taught me a lot. And it brings someone into a mindfulness state where I became aware when people talk and converse, most of the time, people aren't truly listening to what is being said. Their mind is already creating a response to what the conversation's happening, right? So that's a prime example of being more mindful. How can I truly listen instead of my mind not being present, or instead of me creating a response to what is being said? Meditation is a very good practice of being completely mindful, as the mind is able to witness what the thoughts are and how the thoughts are happening, but not attaching to them and not pushing them away. Another form is breathing. It's a very unconscious thing that we all do as human beings. And it's one of the most powerful tools we have. When we come into an awareness of our breath and consciously breathe, many things can happen. We can go into these altered states of consciousness that are very similar to psychedelic states of consciousness. The brain activates, and we see in MRI studies that it's very similar to someone, say, on psilocybin or LSD. It creates these pathways and connects different areas of the brain that normally don't happen, because we come into a place of being so present that we activate other parts of ourselves. So mindfulness is a huge part in what I do. Compassionate communication. What is compassionate communication? So compassionate communication, also known as nonviolent communication, assists individuals to remain empathetic with each other, especially when there are situations when anger and frustration arise. It teaches others to speak without blaming or shaming, and to hear personal criticism without reacting. And compassionate communication goes into every aspect of our lives, our work and our personal lives. And it trains us how to respond instead of react. Responding is when a person takes time to truly listen, that mindfulness practice of what others are saying, and thinking about how to respond clearly and compassionately, and then speaking their truth. For example, I statements is a big thing I train my clients to use. Instead of saying, you made me feel this, or pointing and saying you statements, transforming it into, I felt that this happened, or I felt, and changing it into a personal statement. And that makes the person you're communicating with feel less triggered and less pointed at, which helps a lot with communication. Because when we're in a space of a lot of energy, it's very common that a lot of us, with our monkey brains that go off and our hind brain with our emotional responses, we say things that we regret later on, or we act in a way that's not not pleasant with the other individual that we're speaking with. So, and it's absolutely beautiful. So it's not only important to integrate compassionate communication and mindfulness, but experiences in general. So integration work, which is the biggest part of the work that I do with any field that works with the mind, the body, and the spirit, they all need integration work. They all need to integrate the experience, because if you don't, it will waft away like a feather in the air. Say you go to, for example, like a therapy session. If you go into a therapy session and you're not integrating the work, there's not really much happening, right? You're not going to get a lot out of the experience. So what you do when you go home, how are you going to integrate the experience? How are you going to integrate the session? How are you going to integrate the ceremony is a huge, huge foundation in what I do.
Wow. Well, this is a lot. I mean, by the way, you also have your YouTube channel, which I checked out during the break to get to learn a little bit more about you. And I can't believe all the work you do. It's pretty impressive. And for those who may not know, I recommend they visit the website, sacredstasis.com. That's SACREDSTASIS.com. And my goodness, today we're talking about, an alternate form of energy medicine, and you're using so many different modalities. And again, from the aromatherapy, the sound therapy, the soul activation we're talking about today, but also you're a Reiki healer and crystal healer as well. Can I just ask you, are you a Reiki master or practitioner?
So I'm definitely a Reiki practitioner. It's very interesting you asked me about a Reiki master. It's fascinating.
Am I intuitive, or are you training?
Well, I'm always in training. I always say, right? Life is always the biggest teacher. But no, I am currently not a Reiki master. And to explain why, traditionally in Usui Reiki, participants and trainees took years to integrate, that keyword, the symbols that are taught to us. But nowadays, we can become a master within 6 months. And each person's journey is so individually different. For me, that doesn't feel right. I like being able to really immerse myself in the content and in the work so much that until I feel ready, I won't dive headfirst into something until I'm able to fully know how to swim, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I can't train people how to be Reiki practitioners as of yet, because I myself am waiting for the right Reiki master to show up. My old Reiki master was a very dear friend of mine. I didn't feel right to get my master from her, as there's so many different forms of Reiki medicine. So I'm waiting to integrate all the symbols. I've already integrated. There's a total of, I believe, 4 or 5, and I've integrated fully 2 of them. So I'm integrating one right now, which will take some time. And then once that one is complete, I will be ready for my Reiki master. So.
Well, congratulations, but all the work you do. And let me ask you for, we're almost out of time. We have 5 minutes left. It happens so quick. I'm sure you've noticed this in the past. But
yeah.
As far as the work you do and who it benefits, I mean, someone out there today not feeling so well, I mean, what would you say just to anyone in particular if they want to do a soul retrieval? I mean, it's for everyone, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you'd like, if there's any questions from the viewers and the listeners, I can definitely go answer those as well. But yeah, soul retrieval and soul activation, the work that I do, doesn't matter who you are or where you are, I can definitely work with you for sure.
Great. Well, thank you. And in closing today, what else do you want to share with our listeners? Again, we still have 3 minutes left. I want to make sure we're covering everything that's important to you.
For sure. Yeah. So, my other segments you can listen to from that I do with Casey Armstrong. I cover multiple different facets. This is my very last one, and I want to thank PB and for hosting. It's been absolutely amazing. I cover different topics from frequency healing and solfeggio frequencies and different types of harmonics to different mindfulness practices to crystal healing, sound healing. I work, for those that are listening, I work at large-scale festivals. I've worked in many different facets of small retreats and small intimate gatherings. So the work that I do is not only one-on-one, but I can touch the lives of hundreds of people and have doing the work that I do, doing sound baths, leading breath, and helping individuals know that their divinity and their worth is inherent in them. In the end, the work that I do reminds people that they have the tools to heal themselves and that they are divine creators and that they can transform their lives first within and then without. So
beautiful. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for occupying the space and for, enlightening so many of us, including myself today, on what you do and how you can help us. Would you mind sharing the best form and all forms of contact for that matter?
Yeah, of course. So first off, to listen to my past segments with this beautiful PBNN, you can go ahead and head over to my website. My podcasts are linked there, or you can go and head over to and look up Sacred Stasis segments on Spotify. In that, all of my segments are listed there. It's absolutely amazing. And it's beautiful. So you can contact me through my website, sacredstasis.com. That's SCAREDSTASIS.com.
Perfect.
You can email me at sacredstasishealing@gmail.com. And you can reach me at my phone number, shooting me a text at 801-410-0005.
Great. Well, thank you for being here and looking forward to the next conversation. Whether it's with me or Casey, whomever, it's a pleasure getting to know you, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Jill.
Thank you. Have a great day. And to all of our listeners the same, please stay tuned. More of the show is on the way.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.